Hey, thanks for your patience. Many of them have been here since morning, and some of them have taken the liberty to take a break, change clothes, and come back. So it's just taking us another 5-10 minutes, and we'll start. If there is somebody who is capable of keeping the audience engaged with some songs or jokes, feel free to come on stage, please. I know. Yeah, really appreciate the patience. 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Hello.
On June 12, 2000,
Good evening.
Excelsior began its journey.
We'll just give everyone a minute to settle down before we start
Education and technology.
this session of the conference.
Build solutions that could transform learning and assessment at scale. What began as an entrepreneurial dream was built through belief, courage, and determination, one customer at a time.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening to each one of you present here today. Thank you so much for being part of this conference. And this segment of the TiECon is on cultural entrepreneurship. The subtle difference being there isn't going to be any cultural performance, but what we are going to see today is face-to-face interactions, panel discussions with brands that are taking India's cultural assets, not just all across the country, but also globally. So that is going to be the theme and the flavor of the evening till about 8 o'clock. We would love for all of you to participate, and then you'll also have a chance to engage with some of these very dynamic founders trying to solve some very serious issues, and we would love for your input, feedback after the session. Before we start, I would like to welcome Tejashree to render the erstwhile Kingdom of Mysuru's Anthem. Is Tejashree here?
A good evening to one and all present here. Now I'm going to render Once It Was a state anthem of Mysuru during the Wadiyar period. So I would like to request all of you to please stand up. कायौ श्री गौरी करुणालहरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी कायं श्रीगौरी करुणालहरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी वैमानिकभामार्चित कोमलकरपादे श्रीमान्वितभूमास्पदे कामितफलदे कायं श्रीगौरी करुणालहरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी शुम्भादिमदाम्भोनिधि कुम्भजनिभदेवी शुम्भादिमदाम्भोनिधि कुम्भजनिभदेवी जम्बाहितसम्भाविते शाम्भवी शुभवी कायौ श्रीगौरी करुणालहरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी श्रीजय चामुण्डिगे श्रीजय चामेन्द्र श्रीजय चामुण्डिगे श्रीजय चामेन्द्र नामाङ्कितभूमीन्द्र ललामनमुददे नामाङ्कितभूमीन्द्र ललामनमुददे कायौ श्रीगौरी करुणालहरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी तोयजाक्षी शङ्करीश्वरी. Thank you. Please take your seats.
Thank you, Tejashree. May I now request Mr. Ram Kevalur, the chairman of TiECon 2026, to deliver the welcome address, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mysore. That was me in 2016, so I've aged. I don't like to see that photograph, actually. Wait. Pardon? I think we all like to keep old photographs in LinkedIn and Facebook. Once in a while, see that and feel happy about it. But anyway, thank you so much, Mysuru, for being here this evening. Really warm welcome to all of you to TiECon Mysuru 2026, what we have named as Reimagine Mysuru. And interestingly, I'm sure all of you, when you have to start planning for a conference, how many of you would raise your hands if the first thought was we should do a terrific conference? If would that be the first thought? Right? Let's just do a conference that best in class, best in the world, right? We decided we won't do that. The reason being, if you start thinking too much about the conference itself, then that becomes the spectacle. It's like having a great wedding and then having a very bad marriage after that, right? It happens very often these days, unfortunately. So we said, let's not focus too much on the conference per se. Of course, the conference is a conduit for us to do bigger and better things in Mysore. But how can we actually do things that actually has a more telling, long-lasting effect on Mysore? That seemed to be the common viewpoint that people in board and many others involved in the conference opined on. And that's exactly the reason why we actually named this conference as Reimagine Mysuru, right? And we want to reimagine this in two different ways. One is, can this be reimagined inside out? And can this also be reimagined outside in, right? And I'll explain to you what this means. I think many people who live outside Mysore, if you meet any of them and you say you're from Mysore, the first reaction is, wow, such a beautiful city. You're blessed to be there. Or they'll say, wow, it's a retiree paradise. I'm sure you're enjoying your quality of life. This is the general pattern of feedback that you'd get from people who live outside Mysore. And people who live inside Mysore, understandably so, a lot of them are very, very proud about the city, about its royal heritage, about its greenery, about its proximity to everything that's available, agricultural belt, so on and so forth. But somewhere in that pride, I think, comes a sense of complacency also. We are very happy where we are, and probably people continue to, ride this wave along. And we thought maybe we should start thinking, how can we be more relevant to the global ecosystem that's rapidly evolving, right? And these are the two reasons why we said, let's come up with a theme called Reimagine Mysuru, where we inspire our own people to start thinking, how do we keep the cultural fabric and ethos intact and still be much more relevant in the world of IT and AI and everything that's evolving around us? And two, can we really showcase Mysuru as a model city for people who are outside Mysuru to not just come and live here, but actually, create a meaningful, professional, industrial, entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? So that was the genesis. And then we started reimagining various things in the conference, right? Why should we do it in the same venue? Can we do it differently? Why should it be only for half a day or 1 day? Can we do it for 2.5, 3 days? Because, if you want to do a wedding, do it like the Ambanis, right? There's no point in just doing a small wedding and people forgetting about it, right? So let's be audacious with what we're thinking, seemed to be the common thought. See, expense is one thing. The other thing is, can you create impact? Honestly, to do something of this scale needs tens of lakhs of rupees, and thanks to all our sponsors who have helped us. But we felt it's an investment that is very much needed, and the city deserves it. So we said, let's go all out, reimagine every possible aspect of what we can do using this conference. And one of the key themes that we came up with in terms of reimagination was, it's great to have an applause at the end of every session, but what is more important is the action that comes out of it, right? So action supersedes applause is the common backbone on which we have themed the whole program. You will see various aspects of this reimagination throughout the program. I'm sure some of the pitch fests, etc. you saw. For example, we were not interested in having another pitch fest where it was just a competition in front of a jury and people get first, second, third, and then they forget their startups after that. We felt we should put them in front of investors, make them literally shiver in their legs, because when you present in front of investors, it's a very different ballgame, right? So these are some examples of how we thought we should reimagine this conference. I'm really, really excited that all of you, in many, many ways, have contributed to this reimagination, either being part of planning or by attending these sessions. And I'm hoping to see more and more full houses through the next 2 days. More importantly, we also felt that as part of the reimagination, we should not lose the grounding that we have to culture and heritage, because that is the underpinning sentiment of the city. We have so many businesses that are rooted in culture and heritage, and we thought we should actually spend a full evening talking about how do we reimagine culture and heritage through the lens of entrepreneurship, right? So what you're going to see for the next, I would say, 2 hours or so is not an art program, but it's going to represent various facets of performance art, visual art, it could even be board games, etc. And how do you change the conventional thinking on some of these things and actually bring an entrepreneurial lens to these things? In the last 2 hours, some of you have seen how some Kamsale artists or Virgasi artists have performed, right? It's great to admire, take some selfies and go back home. The question is, can we all be ambassadors to take this craft to the broader world? I'm sure there are people here from other chapters of TiE. Murli, are you here from Hyderabad, Bukapatnam? No, Anshuman is here. Anshuman, some of them have gone for a change. See, I would love to see many of these artists actually go and perform in different TiE chapters all over the world. And TiE could be just one of the conduits. Why can't a Kamsali or a Viragasi performer actually go across the world and showcase the art, right? For example, Mysuru paintings. All of you know the intricacy involved in Mysuru painting. But unfortunately, I think there is a shortage of imagination in what all you can do using Mysuru painting. Does it always have to be related to spiritual and religious aspects? Can you take Mysuru painting and depict a modern theme? Is a question that comes to my mind and probably many people's mind. So what I would like for all of you today to do for us is take a look at it from the lens of an entrepreneur and see how some of these things can inspire us to do more and better things. If any of you have any ideas that come up based on your experience over the last few hours or the forthcoming experience between today and tomorrow, please drop us a note on how you think the entrepreneurship bridge can be created for some of these art forms. So before I end, I want to just leave all of you with a small note. Thinking audaciously, we thought we also need a mascot for the whole program, for the whole conference, that truly is an embodiment of the spirit of, thinking of the unimaginable. Looking at the sky and say, nothing can limit me. I just want to fly. Mysuru has to fly high and soaring without any limits. So that's why we came up with a whole mascot called Vyoma. Vyoma, as you know in Sanskrit, means limitless ether and all that. And Vyoma also signifies the spirit which is just set free. And as many of you know, Vyoma is actually an inspiration from Ganda Berunda. Ganda Berunda is the two-headed eagle that is well known in the Mysuru dynasty. So we have reimagined even that mascot and we're calling it Vyoma. And before I hand over the stage back to Kanchana, I would love for you to see a small depiction of how we have reimagined and why Vyoma is the mascot for us. Thank you. Can I request AV to just play the video on Vyoma, please?
It was the sigil of valor, a symbol of justice, a mark of progress. It belonged to the soul of Mysuru. It lived on in the pride of Karnataka, and now it rises once more. Not as remembrance, but as resurgence. Reimagined for innovation, reimagined for ambition, reimagined for the future. This is Vyoma, the new identity of TiECon Mysuru.
Thank you all. Thank you. Over to you, Kanchana.
This is what happens when a tall person, you succeed a tall person. Hi, good evening. Before we start all the conversations and interesting discussions today, my name is Kanchana, and I lead work at the Network of Indian Cultural Enterprises, NICE.org for short. What do we do? Simple answer, what TiE has done for the tech entrepreneurship ecosystem over the past 3 decades. Our humble attempt is to do the same for cultural brands. The next question is, what do you mean by cultural brands, right? There is unfortunately no formal definition of cultural entrepreneurship. And what we understand as a layperson is culture, which is song, dance, performance arts, most popularly, and entrepreneurship, which again, somewhere alludes to technology in today's AI world, etc. We're trying to bring about the marriage of culture and entrepreneurship. I'm pretty sure, can anybody here tell me one big brand in the space of handmade? Anybody? Hey, you're not allowed to answer. Anybody? Awesome. Anybody else? Fab India, okay. Okay, I was expecting to hear only Fab India. Now, what does it take to create another 1,000 Fab Indias in this country? There are a lot of small enterprises doing some fabulous work, trying to preserve our art, history, culture, heritage by creating sustainable business models. Because so far it has been looked at, the sector has been looked at as a very soft power. Those poor weavers, artisans, craftspeople, we need to kind of maybe pump in philanthropic capital. We need to probably provide livelihoods for 365 days of the year through soft grants or whatever other forms of financial assistance that could be. But what is significantly missing is just one aspect. It's the market connect. The artisans, the craftspeople, the weavers know their skill amazingly well. What they lack is the knowledge and the connect to markets, to consumers like all of us sitting here today in this auditorium. And that's where cultural brands play an amazing role in kind of bridging this connect. So this evening, what you will see is about 7 brands across different sectors trying to build a very solid for-profit business. So at NICE, what we aspire to do, and our arduous mission, I'm going to borrow from Ram's vocabulary, is create an ecosystem that not just facilitates capital, but provides mentorship, puts together, we have lots of events like this, just to create awareness and momentum in the ecosystem, in the country. And that's our attempt. We like to call ourselves a young 5-year-old startup. And in that position, I play the role of a CEO, which in the startup parlance is Chief Everything Officer. And you'll see that at play here today, where I'll also do the MC and also moderate sessions. So with that, thank you so much. And I hope this is enriching and you'll get a lot of insights at the concluding of the session. With that, let me invite a very dynamic personality on stage to deliver the keynote. He's a nationally awarded musician. He's also won the State Award for the Arts of Music. It's probably the first piano player who's gotten both the state honors. Besides that, he has a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from Columbia and is a distinguished professor at Kriya University. And he's also an entrepreneur who leads 2 brands, Rhapsody and Crew, both for creative intelligence for children, working with about 1 million children in 14 countries. And above everything, he calls himself, or likes to be called, as a proud TiE charter member of Chennai. Let us please welcome Mr. Anil Srinivasan with a loud round of applause.
As Anil takes over the stage, I just realized I missed saying something. Kanchana represents NICE in many ways, and she and Sanjay Anandram, as many of you know, has adorned the stage before. All I did was just tell her that we're doing something like this, and Kanchana said, Ram, don't worry. I will be the Sutradhar of the evening and stitch such a powerful story that every person in this audience will become an ambassador for entrepreneurship for art. So thank you so much for being with us today, Kanchana. I really appreciate it.
Good evening. I think I can be seen very, very well because my hairstyle tends to reflect a lot of light. I want to thank Kanchana and Ram for such interesting introductions. They told you that I'm a professor as well as an entrepreneur, and therefore you know why my hairstyle is what it is. I am dealing with both children in the classroom and children outside the classroom. I hope everybody in the back can hear me very well as well. It's a great pleasure to be here. I want to congratulate the entire team, Ram and Bhaskar especially, and everybody with them for choosing this fabulous venue. I was telling some of my friends from TiE Chennai that it's such a pleasure and such a delight to be at a venue, which is a performing arts venue, to be discussing entrepreneurship. What I love about it is that it's an auditorium, it's not a hotel, and people are not going outside because the tea and coffee counter is happening. It also shows the soul of Mysuru, so congratulations on that. In exception to Ram, here's what I'm going to say. That picture is also from 10 years ago, but I have aged downwards. So I don't like that picture either, but for a totally different reason, I look younger now. Okay, so I'll start with this. Is this connected, audible? Everybody can hear? This is just a test. Yeah, Anil plays very well. But I would like for all of you to actually smile because you recognize the tune and not look like I played something completely unknown. Those who pretended they don't know this, cheating. You know this. Okay? Otherwise, it's very wrong to be doing this in Mysore. Okay? Here is what happened, right? But before I get to this, it's working, right? It was working. Okay. Ganda Berunda. I'm going to make everybody here, because it's an evening session, it's a cultural entrepreneurship session. I'm going to make everybody do one small exercise. It's a very important exercise because it makes sure that you are not on your phone. Okay? That all important thing called WhatsApp will not happen. Some of you have been to this. Some of you have heard me before. Don't give the game away. Okay? Can you all rub your hands like this? See, then you can't be on WhatsApp, no? You can't take a selfie of yourself doing this. Hands apart. I'm going to count to 3. When I say 3, you clap, okay? 1, 2. The thing is, I never said it. You see? It's also called temporal prediction. I'm going to talk about all that in a second because they did say that I have a PhD in cognitive neuroscience. I'm going to talk about that. When I do this with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, they will wait with their hands wide open like this and they'll say, Uncle, you never said 3. By the time we move to the 6th grade, people have clapped at 2. By the time you're 19, you've clapped before I've even said 1. Which is also very symbolic of the world we are living in today. That we are in such a desperate hurry to get to solutions that we forget that entrepreneurship is first and foremost about process. Right? I come from the city of Rajinikanth, so I love making punch dialogues. Top line is vanity. Bottom line is sanity. Cash flow is the only reality. I think I just concluded my series B. Anyway, process is everything, and we don't wait for process. We're all in such a solution. It's also like most TiECons, and not just TiECons, any conference you go anywhere, even the Ambani wedding for that matter, even when you're being introduced, people don't register who you are. We are so in a hurry to look at our phones, come to solutions, WhatsApp somebody else who's not even there, doom scroll through Instagram for things which we don't even need, that you're not paying attention to the person right next to you. Right? Always happens. People are giving you visiting cards. By the way, I gave out a lot of visiting cards to people today. Those are not my visiting cards. I gave out other people's visiting cards. Go network. If I liked you, I would have given you my own. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay. This is part of what I'm going to do. So if I have a clicker, I will get to my slides and stuff. But before I do that, one more. Slides. See, I have a PhD, so it needs to say things like this. Neuroscience, creativity in the new age entrepreneur, because then it becomes very interesting, right? Now, what does that even mean? Where do I point this? Here? Now you do believe I have a PhD. Okay? So this is something that's happening to your brain, and I call this the creative muscle. So including for those who are on your phones right now and doom scrolling on Instagram, this one is especially for you. Okay? I'll play the first line. You need to sing the second line back to me. Okay? I have achieved 99% non-WhatsApp efficiency. There are still some people who refuse to give up their phones. We can't do anything about it. They're phony people. Okay. This is what's happening to your brain. Okay. This is what's happening to your brain. When music is being played, and this all comes from very hardwired research, right? That when there is a sentence that I speak of medium complexity, Meenakshi, it was such a pleasure to meet you today. That's a sentence of medium complexity because you have to remember 2 or more things in that sentence. Vinay Prashant reminds us all of Shashi Tharoor. That's a sentence of medium complexity. Right? The same sentence, if it is sung, or if it is spoken, about 30 to 35 neurotransmitters are activating in your brain. Right? If that sentence, instead of being spoken, is sung, 3,37,000 to 3,39,000 neurotransmitters are being activated in the brain, which is why I did not give you a script. There was no MOM shared. I did not share memo, but I played 2 lines. You have not heard Churalia, maybe, because Ashla Bhosle passed away, you must have heard it the last couple of days. But it's not that you have to prepare or look for anywhere for the lyrics. It automatically came. It's not because, oh, I love that song. That also. But it's because all of these parts of your brain are actually getting activated. Now, why am I talking about this? This is what your brain is consuming. This is what your brain is capable of consuming and regurgitating. We are dumbing it down with a lot of cell phone usage because we stopped listening to the actual art, the actual craft. We stopped listening to that. We are doom scrolling, right? But this is what your brain is capable of, which is why, like, even if I do something which you have not heard in a long time, see? And by the way, neurophysiologically also, I'll tell you what's happening to you. The moment I play that and you recognize that song, you are sitting up and you're smiling and life feels very happy for that 7 seconds. Cultural enterprises. But what's the LTV? I'll tell you. The LTV is the Churalia you've been listening to for the last 35, 40 years. What's the CAC? Right? Just think through this, right? I'll keep throwing in these terms, okay? But the reason I show this to you comes from a different space, and this comes from education. So I'm a professor. Why am I showing you this? Given agentic AI, right? How many of you here are confirmed Claude users? ChatGPT, we know who you are. Perplexity, I'm partial to that. He's a Srinivasan. I'm also a Srinivasan. I'm partial to that. Okay. All of us are using one or the other. Okay. Claude is doing things. I've started using Claude a lot for workflows. I'm sure all of you are using that. I use that a lot in my company. I'm sure all of you are using that. Right? It's no longer just a sandbox. It's gone into all kinds of things right now. Right? It's literally living our lives out at great environmental cost. At great other costs, we all know that, but for now, for convenience, we will not look at those things. So if this is the case, in education, I'm a professor, the biggest question that's facing us today is whither education. Where do we go with education, right? Because there's no point in asking descriptive questions anymore because AI can do that for you. There's no point in even asking for analytical questions because AI is doing a better job at it than you are, right? Then what is the purpose, right? So my work, large part of my work has gone into defining this word called creativity. One of the biggest misnomers we have is that we say creativity and we start thinking creativity means drawing, painting. No. Okay? Every entrepreneur is a creative individual. Every individual in this room is a creative professional. Every woman in this country is creative because you have to be in order to survive the patriarchy that we exist in, right? Creativity is a part of every single one of our endeavors. So my work and my life's work, my research work goes into how do we therefore interpret it for education. This thesis, and this thesis is what not just me now, a lot of professors across the world are using, thanks to me, is this framework called creative intelligence. Right? Creative intelligence is a combination of many things. What is artistic creativity? I'm going to give you examples on this. Artistic creativity is not creativity that means that I'm very good at performing arts. What it means is what the arts is doing to my brain. Like I showed you with that brain diagram. It's also making you listen in a very different way. What is that very first song I started with, the very famous Kannada song? That's the song, okay? I want you to listen carefully this time. This is a very nice exercise. I promise you it is better than the WhatsApp message, okay? This time, listen only to what my left hand is going to play. I'll play my left hand alone a little louder than my right hand. Listen to what it's doing. What Ilayaraja has done is combined two independent melodies and made it into a third hybrid. So right hand melody is, left hand is, totally different. Sambandhame kadayadu, as we say in Tamil, right? Sambandhi nahi hai isme. This is left wing, this is right wing. Only music can bring the wings together. And how it wings, Ganda Berunda, how it will bring it together is, Vyoma. Ilayaraja, okay, what a genius, right? How this happens. So when you so this time when I asked you to listen to the music specifically, if you noticed, you actually were paying a lot of attention because I told you to, and you're now when you go listen to that song today, I know many of you will go listen to it again. Listen to that bass line that's playing. It's a separate melody by itself. Because it's presented as a package, you don't even realize this is artistic creativity, which is what that music does to you, even without you realizing, is that it's making your brain suddenly much more efficient. Okay, though your children who are saying, I want to keep listening to music when I prepare for exams, there's a physiological reason for it. Please allow them to do it. Okay, it's making your brain very different. So things like this. Artistic creativity shows you how to look for patterns. By the way, one of the courses that I teach at Kriya is called Music and Data Science. What does that mean? We actually look at music as you know, music is a series of frequencies. So when we write out music as notation, you all know what music notation can look like. But each note is a frequency, right? All the engineers and physics people in this room. Each note is a frequency. Instead of calling it a notation, I can call it a frequency distribution, correct? If I can call it a frequency distribution, and it follows a discrete set of rules, I can actually represent it by an integral. Right? If I can represent a series of music notes as an integral, I have now stepped from the world of music into the world of data. Similarly, I can look at data also as a series of frequencies, reinterpret them and make them into music. Why is this important? Again, this brain exposure and how a human being can be trained to think beyond a machine, right? This kind of pattern matching and creating an enterprise, AI is still not able to do. So training students to be able to think in these ways is perhaps one way in which you can outpace AI. In my world, I will not call it artificial intelligence, but Anil as intelligence. Okay? Everybody's looking very serious, so I'll give you one more example. Very complicated melody. Okay, everybody knows this. If you don't know this, there's no hope for you. So this, of course, the song was composed but then worked on by Mozart when he was 12 years old. And I use this as an artistic creativity example. Mozart, of course, genius. You know what he did? In something like 47 minutes, Mozart is supposed to have constructed 32 variations on just this one tune. Okay? In real time. what the definition of genius, right? Beyond what AI can do. I'll show you what a variation is. Variation 1. Two. Three. And it can go on and go on and go on like that. Now I'll tell you something beautiful about it. So in mathematics, this particular thing I would call, it's called a homological function, okay? As an integral, if I take it, it can pretty much combine and play with any other frequency without losing its integrity. I'll interpret this in music to tell you what I mean. Any song in the world can be combined and played with Twinkle Twinkle without Twinkle Twinkle losing its essence. For example, you can put that song into anything, right? Somebody, where's Santosh? Is here. Santosh, you wanted me to play something. What did you say? Raja. Everything is Raja, but anyway. It just blends into everything. Okay, and this by a 12-year-old child. Okay, why is this important? All this comes into that first segment, which is artistic creativity. It gives you so many patterns with which you can study science, mathematics, the way the brain needs to interact with itself, etc., etc. That model of thinking through creativity is one huge area that not just education, but entrepreneurship needs to focus on. How do I use the power of the arts, but not just as performance, but as intelligence, into rewiring human interaction, rewiring workplace, rewiring how we will start interacting with one another? Because that's a post-AI conversation. Second, collaboration, right? How many of you here studied in CBSE schools growing up? Don't lie. How many of you here have taken at least one entrance exam in your life? Okay. So if you have sat in an exam hall for an entrance exam, you know what this particular posture means. Person behind you should not copy. Person diagonally left, diagonally right, straight left, cover on, cover off should not be able to copy from you. You have understood. Throughout your life from kindergarten to post-college, you have been taught you must be topper. You must come first. Then suddenly you go into the workplace, you're on a Zoom call, your manager is talking to you from the United States and he says, collaborate. Come on, guys, put your hands together because Ubuntu is the way that an organization will progress. Right? And you switch off the Zoom call saying, Achi. The only place where we collaborate is lunchroom, which is usually to open your lunchbox and look like that. Collaboration is also a part of the creative muscle unless it is taught when you are very, very young You will not get it. Cognitive creativity is becoming the most important topic. What is cognitive creativity? Cognitive creativity deals with looking at theory 1, theory 2, and then coming up with counterfactual theory number 3. These are the people, the Marie Curies of the world, right? The people who are able to look at things, look at fact 1, fact 2, and say, okay, I'm coming up with a fact 3, which combines this, but can still countermand these two things. Scientific research is going to progress largely in that domain. And the last person is the most important person in the room, is the person who brings all the other creatives together, and that person is the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is first and foremost the most creative professional in the world, right? But he has to bring the artistic, the collaborative, and the cognitive together, which is why I leave this as a model from neuroscience into entrepreneurship. I showed you all this, how different parts of the brain. So artistic creativity, just an example. Artistic creativity merged different parts of the brain together. Remember, you all did this rub and clap thing, 1, 2, 3. When you do it in rhythm, you will get it right, right? Otherwise, temporal prediction becomes hard. Deeper listening, I gave you an exercise in that. And what is music and the performing arts other than performing under pressure? Okay? I leave you with these thoughts because Kanchana has given me 3 minutes and 37 seconds, which is interesting because it's 337,000 neurotransmitters which are getting activated. But she's a nice person. Am I right? So, are you enjoying this, Kanchana? So 1 minute extra I can take, no? No. Nonsense. Okay. Are there any startup entrepreneurs in the room? Quite a few, right? Anybody who pitched, or I don't know, Ram doesn't call it a pitch, but a real thing today, right? Here's everything that actually the performing arts and the cultural arts teach you, right? The audience can tell when you're not in control, right? The investor is interested not just in the outcome, but is looking at the process that you have taken to reach that outcome, and he can tell if your process is not sound. You can't make up numbers, right? Same thing in music. If I played Abashruti, if I played out of tune, you will know it in a second. You know it in your bones, okay? Constraints are how music breathes. This beautiful song. You know the song, right? 64 musicians in a room playing it no less than 70 plus times to get it right. What was the constraint? In those days, technology did not exist. Today, technology exists, but people are recording asynchronously, right? During COVID, we were doing crazy things with music asynchronous recordings across spaces. And yet, phenomenal music comes out, right? India did not, at 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when that song was recorded, India did not have the recording technologies, but I dare even one person in this room to say that that song is not a masterpiece, right? The greatest of music has come when you have absolutely nothing. And that's the cultural enterprise and the power of it, right? They are not people sitting and saying, I don't have seed funding, I don't have a GTM. They just do. They need to be guided differently, but they do. Practice. Again, something in music, in sports, right? You cannot replace it. You can't just show up and wing it. Practice is the only thing. When there are pauses in music, you know that those pauses are strategic. How many times as entrepreneurs do we actually take a pause to say, no, it's okay if I don't have growth this year, but let me reinvest in process. Because everybody's asking you to hustle all the time. This year 3x now, next year 6x. Next year 6x now, third year 10x. Why? Sometimes be at 3x also, it's okay. Right? It's some of these practices that music teaches you, and the most humbling of it all of what I'm playing, you're all clapping for, but you're not clapping for me. You're clapping from all those masters who've come before me and have composed these wonderful pieces and have touched your heart so deeply. So the great thing is, you are never the music. You are not the art. You are not the business. You are you, and you have allowed yourself to become a vehicle through which great ideas can go help make this world a better place. That humility. So I end here. This is the enterprise I run, right? More about all of this in the cards, which actually have my name and this brand, but basically we work on creative intelligence. So we call it a creative intelligence company, and we work with more than 1 million children now in 14 countries. Of course, colleges and schools, lots more happening right there. But to end, I'm asking all of you to rub your hands again, if you remember the exercise I gave you. Hands apart. Like with everything else in life, if you don't remember what I told you, copy from the person next to you. It's called collaboration. 1, 2, 3. Remember this, a group that claps together will stay together, and a group that stays together will change the world. Thank you. I want to thank, was it Prakash who got the keyboard in time for this, and Sarfaraz, very much. Pradeep, who's from TiECon Mysuru, Pradeep and Sarfaraz, thank you for getting this on time.
So tall for me. Thank you. Thank you, Anil. I was actually wondering how should I actually thank you for all those fabulous points. And jokes apart, I think I have a lot of things to think about on my way back. I was almost tempted to use Claude to deliver this thank you note, but I saw you looking at me. So with that, thank you so much for this amazing segue into today's program. May I request Mr. Bhaskar, TiE President, to hand over a memento to our keynote speaker. Thank you. Okay, with that beautiful segue, we're now going to have a very interesting panel discussion, considering that most folks here are from technology, and the general impression is that technology has nothing to do in cultural entrepreneurship. Now, whether it's true, whether it's false, does it help, does it not help, I don't have all the answers, but we're going to have a panel discussion where there are 3 founders who are going to throw light on how they are using technology to help and aid growth of cultural brands. And with that, may I invite the 3 speakers, while they just put the chairs together. May I request Raksha Rao, the co-founder of Charana Labs, to please come on stage. Ajit Padmanabh, founder of Who We Are. It's got nothing to do with philosophy or any existential crisis, by the way. And Vijaya Krishnappa, founder of Kosha.ai. Can it be moderated by me, chief, everything, whatever. Thank you. Thank you, folks. And thank you for, I know it's been a long day for you all, so thank you so much for sticking around. You know what, we were thinking of the title for this panel discussion. There are a lot of, considering it's cultural entrepreneurship and creativity, a lot of great English words were thrown around. And, finally, I think we settled into something called as AI and the artist's soul. Okay, we thought it was very catchy with a lot of A's and I's and everything. But I think kind of sets the tone of what I would like to discuss here today. Also taking into account that many of us here are not really conversant, again, with cultural entrepreneurship. And this narrative needs to be spoken over and over again across multiple platforms in the country. Although it may sound very repetitive, it may sound like, oh, I've heard this, I've seen this on Instagram, I've seen this reel, etc., etc. But I think it is very, very, very critical that we speak about what we are building and why we are building, okay, across facets, some of which Anil touched, GTM and cash flows. And so how are you thinking of this in all the cultural brands that you're building? So I'm not going to do the introduction. So if we can start with Raksha. And Raksha, if you can just introduce yourself, your brand, and let the audience know what is it that you're actually trying to build.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kanchana. And very good evening to everybody. My name is Raksha and I lead a company called Charana Labs. And Charana in Kannada actually means a journey or a trek. Every time I say Charana, I keep getting asked, is it like Char Ana? It's not 4 pence or whatever it is, right? It's Charana, it means a journey. And what we're trying to capture is journeying through Indian culture and heritage using technology. That is basically what we do. We work at the intersection of stories, culture, and use technology to bring that to people, not only in India, but globally as well. So in our company, we use immersive media, specifically immersive videos, AR and VR, to create apps that can live on your VR headsets, your mobile phones and such. So one of the primary products of our company is an app called Immersive India, which is essentially a play on Incredible India, but using the word immersive here. And what it does is we have gone all across India and filmed the very essence and stories of Indian culture, heritage, and nature. And we have brought it out across as an app that people who have these VR headsets can put on and experience. So we are primarily trying to build a digital export vehicle for Indian culture. Not only that, within India, we are building an initiative called Culture Lab, where we marry these digital experiences with physical layers. For example, if I have a story about Orissa that is filmed in VR, you not only get to see that, but when you come and visit our experience center, you get to experience Odissi dance, Odia food, and everything. So it becomes a holistic way to experience the nature, the culture, and heritage of India. That's
do you
what
have
we
any
do.
of the products here with you?
Yes, I have it on the headset. Will be
Maybe it'll be
happy
good
to show
for
it
you
around.
to kind of
For
do
sure.
it at the end of this session.
Definitely.
Yeah? Thank you.
Thanks.
Vijaya, over to you.
Thank you, Kanchana. So I'm Vijaya Krishnappa, co-founder of a startup called Kosha AI. So what we are trying to address the issue of primarily counterfeiting, especially with respect to cultural products, especially on handlooms, textiles. So like they say that, always bad drives good out of the market. So we witnessed how handlooms have dwindled and many of these counterfeit products have driven out traditional and authentic products out of the market. We, using technology, we are trying to address this issue. How do you ensure that you protect the traditional authentic products? So the solutions we have, one is called WeaveSense, which is an IoT-based solution. Using the movement of the handloom, we capture the proof of work and transfer that to a QR code. And customer can scan the QR code and know whether it's a genuine handmade or not. And another technology is called FiberSense, which is a photonics-based technology. What it does is, it's a portable device, small device. When you place your fabric on it, using the light, light reflection, it takes the molecular fingerprint out, whether cotton, for example, as cellulose, silk, fibroin. So the fingerprint, using these fingerprints, we predict whether that particular product is a cotton or a silk or a wool, if it is a blend like cotton, polyester, all of that. We also give exact percentage of that. So these are a couple of products along with the traceability we provide, which primarily helps consumers to look at the way, for example, when you go buy gold, you know that there is a carat meter. So similarly, if you go to Jainagar store in Tanera in Bangalore, there you can see that this product can be used to see whether it's genuine or not. Thank
So
you.
Vijay, I'm going to ask you, where is that QR code? Now, suppose, how do I know if this is pure cotton or polyester?
So this is a device. I mean, it's there outside in another bag. I can probably show somewhere. So it's connected to a laptop. Or another device is there which is connected to a mobile phone using Bluetooth. And in about 2 to 3 seconds, it can tell what is the material actually.
Okay, it's interesting. I'd be interested to check this today. Thanks. With that, Ajit
Good
from
evening, everybody.
Who We Are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you love the name. Thank you for having us here. It's wonderful to be here. Who we are, as the name suggests, we are focused on bringing back the story of our origins. Who are we and where do we come from? And we leverage immersive visual multisensory technologies like holograms, 3D projections, virtual reality, haptic reality, all of that kind of stuff to recreate heritage sites and monuments, not the way they look today, but how they used to be at their prime. So we recreate cultural scapes. We recreate the costumes, the jewelry of those times. We recreate the music, the sonic scapes of those times. And we completely immerse you in what we call as a time travel experience. We've done this for a couple of sites in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We hope to do that for Hampi very, very soon. The idea behind all this is very simple. We've all traveled abroad and we know how tourism is very, very sacred for those communities, right? They market it so beautifully, they package it so beautifully. You go to certain cities or certain museums, you will feel that, we could do far better in India with the kind of heritage that we have. So that problem statement is what got us into this entire scape. And we are not only into immersive technologies like VR, AR, etc. We are also into game development because our target audience is the kids, the younger adults who seem to have lost the connection with their roots. We want them to get reconnected to those roots and find out who we are and where we come from. That's about it.
Thank you. I think I want to jump directly to the most important question that we started off at this session is, the general myth is there is no role, absolutely no role for technology in building cultural brands. On the contrary, technology would dilute the essence of India's very rich cultural asset. It would destroy the core of what the artisan is trying to make, or if it is food, it would actually, you're getting the drift, right? The natural essence of it, you're going to actually do away with its USP. Okay, with that, but you, all three of you, are trying something that actually is going against the tide. Okay, so is it true, or how do you think your product or what you're trying to create is helping this sector? Or is it like a standalone thing that you're doing something in tech while people are building brands in fashion and home decor and food and health and wellness? So what actually transpired you to start it? And I would really like for you to bring out your thoughts. Vijay, do you want to start? Because you were probably the first who took this audacious step, and I believe it would not have been easy when you started this, 7 years ago?
Yeah, say 2020. So,
okay, so yeah.
Yeah. True. So in fact, when we started, I'm not a techie, but I had this, from while working with government, I realized that handloom sector like Banaras, where the product, when we visited for one of the studies, the weaver was weaving like a 60,000-70,000 rupees sari, but the house itself was tiny and his quality of life was nowhere comparable to the luxury of the product that he was making. So there was a sense of there's something wrong. He's making 70,000 worth product. I think that's where it was there somewhere in the back of the mind. And at some point of time, I started as a project. So then it took a shape of an organization and all of that. But how it came up is like, I saw a QR code. I didn't know what a QR code is in a newspaper. I think Microsoft or Samsung ad was there, 2020 beginning. And I felt that scan here to know more. And I was wondering, what is this actually? Scan. And I tried. So then I realized, okay, this can be used. And that's when I realized, why can't I use a QR code to tell the story of the handlooms? And then IoT, all that up stacked up. So my first challenge was very early in the COVID, when I wanted to validate this, whether this works or not, like there's Go Co-op and 3-4. And when I showed them a small POC we had made and showed a product, and they said, what is this code? So nobody knew what is the QR code. And then that was the biggest problem initially. But I mean, soon, within 6-7 months, this whole thing changed. And then, of course, technology adoption itself was a big issue. So I think it's been a journey has been very slow initially. But later, at some point of time, it took off. That's been my experience so far. But what happened, I would say that, it also took a different shape. Like we started with handloom authentication. That market was niche initially. And then that's when some of our customer asked, but that's one thing, handloom or not. But we are buying silk. We are selling silk yarn, like weavers and all of that. The same weaver said that, but ye cotton ke naam pe kuch aur bech rahe, silk ke naam pe kuch aur bech rahe. आप कुछ ऐसा बना सकते हैं क्या जिससे हम तुरंत पता चल. So it kind of, we had never had a background of photonics or something like that, but it was a co-created product wherein customer asked us, and we found, like the previous session, like how Anil told that somebody else had made a theory about photonics or NIR technology, Raman spectroscopy. So we could read it. Somebody has worked on something else. So we tried to put everything together and made this product, FiberSense.
Wow, I have a lot of questions on that, but we'll get to that. So Ajit, you started this, 5 years ago? 5 years ago, who we are. So what was the thought? Why that? Because if I take somebody like me who's a complete tech novice and I'm least interested in technology, I would always feel that it kind of, will I get the same experience if suppose it's Varanasi, right? I want to go there. I want to figure out what all those ghats are, what the stories are. Go there and get a first-hand experience. Go figure my way around it. Now, what was your idea when you started this? How is this technology going to help a consumer like me who likes the actual touch and feel and experiencing this whole space of experiential tourism?
Excellent question. I am a techie. And I'm also a musician. Thanks to Anil and his presentation, it was fabulous. I mean, I could resonate at so many levels. So when I was a techie, I had this in mind that we were working on artificial intelligence in 2016 on GPT 1.0, where we were creating so-called agentic AI for supply chain visibility. I was with Infosys in Bangalore. So when you're the techie and you're exposed to the code that is actually bringing these manifestations out, you realize the risks and the ramifications of it. And I have seen it up close and personal. And one of the reasons why we started who we are was, of course, the tourism aspect that I spoke to you about. The other one is we are dealing with a digital native generation now, right? No amount of books and research papers and publications will help them understand who we are and where we came from. We have to get them consume the heritage and history of our land the way they consume other digital content. And for me, it would be a service to our ancestry and to our history if we put that on a mobile device, because essentially what mobile does is it is designed for addiction. It is designed for playing on your mind, like Anil was talking about earlier. It's a fact which is beyond doubt now, and we are all victims of that. And I see some people on WhatsApp even now. So 2 points around there were the younger generation cannot be digitally addicted. At the same time, the younger generation has to consume content of our history and heritage so that their roots, their connections are validated. So coming from a tech background and having worked in AI, I moved quickly into virtual reality space, 3D modeling. So we create very, very authentic 3D scanned, areas of temples and monuments. And our intent is not for you to not go to the real site. Our intent is for you to understand, before going to that real site, the holiness of that, the story of it, the history of it, and the factual engineering on the ancient architecture principles behind every heritage site that we had. But remember, I might be a 21st century engineer today, but we had engineers back in the 9th and 10th century who have created monuments and temples that even today's science cannot explore and fathom. It could be the sonic pillars of Hampi, or it could be the single granite rock on top of the Brihadishwara temple. So it's an ode that I wanted to give back to our ancestry, collective ancestry, in a way that is responsible and conscientious of an entrepreneur, not letting the generation that is addicted to be further addicted. So that's the thought process that we had.
Okay. You know what I gathered from this is I'm not your stakeholder. So, Raksha, you kind of entered this play probably much later than these two gentlemen. So, what was the problem that you were trying to solve, or why this now? Because there's a lot of AR, VR, and I've sat through like about half a dozen in the past year, right? So, what is it that you're trying to shape up? And in this day and age where everybody wants innovation, what's new, what's your USP, what's your differentiator? Every pitch deck, there is one slide that focuses on it, right? So what is, why try this at Charana Labs?
Yeah. Great question. And so I think it's more of a combination of everything here that's been said. I think actually who we are and us kind of operate in a similar space here. But the real answer is like what Ajit was saying earlier. Like, we're all engineers. I was in the US for quite a long time, and then we returned. And the first instinct was to go and check out all these beautiful places of history and heritage. And all we saw outside was these like static boards that just talk about this king built it, and it's just facts upon facts upon facts. And like he said, not only the very young generation, the Gen Z, but even people like us will lose the interest if it's not presented in a very engaging manner. And especially having seen what museums and the way things are portrayed outside of our country, but having so much more here and not being able to do that kind of justice is what really drove us to start something like this. And because again, we were technologists, and though the company was started 2 years ago, but we've been in the AR VR space for more than 10 years at this point. And my co-founder is a filmmaker who's specialized in VR filmmaking, and the other co-founder has been somebody who's been worked on foundational technology on what has now become the Apple Vision Pro. So we've been in this space for a long time, and we thought the best way to leverage stories and how they are told is through tech. That's what we know best, and let's use that to make things happen. Like I always want to say, there are 1 billion stories untold in India, and we are providing a medium to tell those stories, a new medium to tell those stories.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing out the story angle. Vijay, I want to come back to you. From 2020 to now 2026, like you mentioned, probably when you started, people probably thought you were just a maverick trying to do a bunch of things. From an entrepreneurship perspective, from your enterprise, if you were to look at the challenges, that journey of yours, do you think those initial challenges still persist? Or now what is it that you're facing? And purely from a brand building exercise, how has the ecosystem contributed or not contributed towards the growth of Kosha?
Yeah, I mean, see, all these cultural enterprises, if you look at, they've been, I mean, of course, there has been technology. When you say handloom became power loom became airjet, all of that. But so anything you are doing as an add-on or as a layer, like something like authenticity, its adaptability is a big challenge. So one, we are looking at somebody like a weaver, small weaver, is already a poor weaver. So now, whereas we are trying to put some technology. So when we look at making business out of it, it's a big challenge. It was a big challenge. So we quickly realized our model is B2B rather than directly going to weaver. We went to wholesalers, retailers, brands. So which gave us that comfort. But being said and done, still it is a social side, impact, more of an impact rather than really doing as a business. So the product market fit and scale is a big challenge. So niche, one is as a handloom market is a very niche market. So we realized that also another as an early. So that's when we diversified our product, saying that when it's a market is niche, you have multiple products like, fiber sense, weave sense, many of these products came in. So today, the way we see is that one, of course, its market is still niche, but what we have seen is, can you use the same product elsewhere? For example, while fiber sense is being consumed by Central Silk Board for protecting silk mark from Tanera for silk and many of the other organizations, it's also being used for dealing with textile waste. Wherein, so what we have seen is that, okay, this is one market niche, but we cannot scale up only with this. Rather, can we have other usages? Textile testing by any of the machines. So we are trying to see creating new markets, other use cases within this. So
I have a add-on question to that. Both Ajit and Raksha spoke about this aspect of storytelling, right? Which is very critical in this space because stories is what ultimately sells. Absolutely. Your product can be as amazing as any other tech product, but if the story is not packaged the way all of us here can understand, and I've heard that from multiple entrepreneurs that the story is the biggest challenge. Now, for a product like yours, okay, now how important is that storytelling, and did it really help?
Yeah, I mean, last year, I think, not this place, I think we had another Thai conference where Jaipur Rugs founder NKC was there. So he told one sentence saying that, his products are carpets which are very expensive, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So he said, I give my carpet for free. Okay, I charge for the stories. Okay, so I think that is pretty much applicable for any of the crafts. The way we are looking at is, how can we enable storytelling of that? So, right, it's the same thing. For example, when we make a handmade, in Northeast, for example, they make a traditional gamosa, it's called. So, where some of the organizations, they use QR codes that we have given with an IoT. So when someone scans it, that this same weaver is weaving the same gamosa that they have bought it. Okay. So we are enabling that story. Similarly, an experience, like when you are not sure. So, I mean, even it happened with my own, some of the cousins from town had come to Bangalore and they saw the ad saying that, the famous Mysore silk is in much demand and there were queues and all of that. Next day, early morning, they went to buy saris and they came back by 10 o'clock and they said, we bought it finally, the saris. And I looked at it, it was called some Kaveri Karnataka silk, something like that. Okay, so they've been fooled by saying, and later when we checked on our machine, it was silk rayon, not even silk, and they paid significant amount of money for that. So now, how do you protect? How do you know that it's a genuine? So if we can give that kind of experience, saying that this device is there, and somebody can show, look at this is a sari. So you get a lot more confidence in buying it, and that's the experience and the story. So we are enabling that thing, that's how we've been operating on it.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Ajit, the same question to you. The whole premise of your business is that storytelling. And over 4 years, 5 years, how has that changed? Or is that something that you've had to constantly rework on, reinvent on, think? Because I would imagine that's the only thing that's probably selling, right? I mean, that's punch.
Absolutely.
So what has changed? Have you guys made some tweaks to it, or you're selling as it is?
No, I don't think the storytelling part or the fulcrum of what we started with, that has undergone any change. So let me put this in a different perspective. You ask about challenges also and the importance of storytelling. I'll come to challenges first and then the storytelling aspect. When I started the company, a lot of people advised me that, don't start it as a company, start it as an NGO or a foundation, because it's heritage. Correct. And in our country, for whatever it's worth, heritage starts and stops at preservation. And that too with great lacuna. And that kind of hurt me because, these are works of our own ancestors, man. I mean, you have an onus on you to kind of not only preserve it, but retain the storytelling aspects of it, right? So I don't think storytelling thing has changed, but with the advent of AI and with the advent of generative AI, we've been a little mindful of how our team works. And that is also a challenge in a technology company. Now, generative AI has, I'm sure, part of the video that was unfurled for Vyoma, I think it would have used generative AI, but it is fantastic work done. Fabulous work. When it comes to generative AI and heritage sites, the attention to detail that we are known for, or, Raksha and everybody, we go to these temples to enjoy the detailing, right? That is not being captured in generative AI, and it may take some time before that comes out. But we are mindful as a team that we have to be aware of the AI wave and see how we can counter it. So the challenge that we are facing today, apart from the ecosystem play where, this mindset of foundation to for-profit has to come. And we are banking on a very, very focused and a large ecosystem that is happy and proud to be associated with the heritage of this nation, right? With the technology part, what we do is, as a team, I let the team explore generative AI and all that. In fact, this is the anecdote that I share with a lot of students that I do internships with. The team asked me, Ajit, can we look at generative AI, this was 2023, and see if we can recreate the Sharda Peeth, the project that I spoke to you about earlier. I knew it would fail, but I said, yeah, be my guest, go for it, enjoy yourselves. 3 days later, they come with generative AI images of Sharda Peeth. All of them, and I'm not kidding, all of them were Buddhist pagodas, because generative AI is driven by data, and that data is pumped by China and US predominantly. Right now, we are the largest consumers of generative AI. There's a lot of Indian content going out into those servers, and probably it's beautiful content. Content space where, we maybe eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I strongly believe that the only thing to retain our authenticity, the authenticity of the sculptures and the temples themselves. And that's why I am 100% confident that AI will not eat into our business. We will definitely look at using AI. In fact, we are looking at it. I'll just take half a minute more. The games or the experiences that we create are based, or they are built on game engines, which are softwares that are designed for addiction. Right? The colors, the kind of scenery, the beautiful stuff that you see on the screen, it titillates you, it kind of gets you addicted. So we are using artificial intelligence to create large behavioral models, or LBMs, not large language models, to create finite behavior aspects and reward and quantify your behavior in the experience. And these behaviors are coming straight out of Nyaya Shastra, Tarka Shastra, Niti Shastra, and Artha Shastra. So we are using Indic knowledge systems to codify foundational algorithms so that the addiction and the propensity of the younger generation to be enslaved by digital devices is reduced. So we are working with those challenges, and we want to take every challenge as an opportunity and work towards that also.
Wow, that seems like a lot of work. I thought you would probably just tell me one or two challenges that we could just solve off like that. So sorry, I asked you that question. Raksha, do you have anything to add, considering that you're in a very similar business, right? Is there anything different, or how are you using AI to kind of enhance and make the storytelling more power punched?
Yeah, like you said, I think AI has majorly been a challenge in validating the authenticity of the information that we get out of research, right? The AI research that it does. So we, on our part, do everything that is there on our side, because we have a filmmaker, we have a production team who actually go and do the research to make sure that the stories that we present are authentic. That is one thing that we do. But to add on to what Ajit was saying, so we have the authenticity, we have the story that sits on top of it, but we are trying to add the next layer, which is the experiential layer. And here's where we face a challenge that is not new, but I think this is what we have understood and we have been able to navigate through, which is we are putting our content on these devices, which is like VR headsets and so on, which I know a lot of you will question the fact that these are niche devices. These are now your content, my product becomes limited to people who own the headsets.
Correct.
And that is one challenge that we have tried to solve by creating these experience centers where the onus is not on owning the device, right? Now we bring back the onus to just coming and showing up at a place where you wear the headsets. I'll give you everything. I'll give you the headset, I'll give you the content, I'll give you the story, and I'll give you the entire experience that goes with it.
Where can we find this experience center?
We have our experience centers in HSR in Bangalore.
Okay.
And we also have made it into a tiny footprint that can go as a pop-up in different places, even events like this. So we can definitely bring those stories wherever they need to be told in these experiential formats. So that's how we've been navigating these challenges. But to add on to that, one thing that I think would be a great way to make sure that this sustains and there is a place for this is public spaces, which is very accessible to the public as it's called, but to be able to use defunct libraries or older libraries, older museums to bring in tech like this and make sure that the public gets access to it. So that is something that we would love to see if there is ecosystem support around it. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks. I didn't realize we've already spent about 35 minutes and I could go on for another hour or so. But maybe to kind of wrap this up, couple more quick questions. You brought out the ecosystem angle. Considering we are sitting today in a place where there's a varied set of stakeholders, not necessarily in the sector or contributing in some way in where you function, if there was an ask, or how do you think anybody here could be part of helping you build this brand? What is that one ecosystem? If I was like the Aladdin and the genie, what is it that you would ask genie? What is that one wish you have from the ecosystem to help you scale your brand?
Like I just said, my biggest challenge is distribution. And any place, any opportunity where we can bring these experiences to a larger audience would be the greatest help that we can get at this point. And those could be government buildings, government museums, or events like those, or even private events where you have the audience ready and you have the experiences ready. So we need to be able to connect those two dots. So that is the biggest ask at this point, is to get that visibility and the distribution for us.
Vijay?
So most of our today burn happens in R&D. Okay, for example, even this FiberSense, we have partnered with the Indian Institute of Science. We worked for the last 3.5 years So I think that's one area. And the moment you make one product, for example, this can be looked at, let's say, not just textiles, there's turmeric, which is also a cultural product. How do you know whether something is genuine or not? So there are many use cases, but you'll have to do R&D on each of them. So I think what I look at it is more on R&D and investments is where we would like to focus. So you have more use cases, more applications, more market is bigger. Yeah. Thank you.
R&D markets.
No, I agree with him. R&D is, on top of it, because a lot of the experiences that we create, we host them at experience centers. Like Raksha said, we have one running in Kerala. We want to open one in Bangalore, and then Hampi probably, or even Mysuru. The biggest ecosystem help that I ask of is investments into R&D, because fundamentally what we are doing here is a small little Indian studio, Kakud in Bangalore, is trying to become the next Pixar or the Walt Disney, because that's exactly what we are doing. I will give you an example. We run internships with colleges all across India, including IITs, and we use motion capture technology to kind of create dance and musical movements, or even bring paintings to life, as though the characters in the painting are walking out of the painting and giving you the story of that entire painting and taking you into it. Right? So this is absolute creative storytelling, immersive storytelling, engaging experiential, endeavors, right? Requires a lot of R&D because these hardware and equipments are not inexpensive, and most of the time they ended up importing and stuff like that. So we'll definitely look at R&D investments into both our VR, proliferation as well as the AI aspects. The last thing is, remember, when you support us in this ecosystem where we are trying to create or, create a pathway for the other startups to follow suit. Who we are or Raksha's company need not be the only two companies doing this in India. India has got 7 lakh plus registered monuments. Not one startup can do that, right? So we want to create a pathway where it becomes a race like a space tech race, where there are a lot of companies, a lot of startups from Mysore, Hampi, Trivandrum, wherever it is, they burgeon out into the space. So all I ask of the ecosystem support is to support us, support them. And remember that when you're supporting us, you're supporting the ancient temple architects, the ancient engineering knowledge keepers that are very, very far and few today. We work with a couple of them who are in their late 80s. Wow. And we are in a speedy endeavor to record as much as we can. They will keep secrets to themselves. The secrets will go to their cremation grounds. But we need to enhance that knowledge and bring that out into the world. Otherwise, it will be another case of lost knowledge, lost handicraft, lost textiles, lost pottery, whatever have you. So that's my ask of the entire ecosystem. Let's come together, like he said, Ubuntu, and make this happen so that many, many more startups makes the space as heritech as I call it. We have AdTech and MarkTech. We want to call it heritech. I'll stop there.
Thank you. I think the only way I think I can sum up this conversation is, and what I heard from all of you is, as a nation, we've made huge strides in protecting and preserving all our cultural assets. Thanks to many individuals like you, now is the time to promote it and actually make it a very aspirational and prosperous sector for the future generations to participate in. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and I really enjoyed this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, everyone. It was indeed a very wonderful session, and you have definitely given us enough fodder to reimagine entrepreneurship, cultural entrepreneurship, So how beautifully you have bridged the gap. And now I would like to call upon Mr. Sabrishan Chittur Kalyana Krishnan sir, who is a mentor of Mysore TiE, to first of all come and honor Ms. Raksha Rao, CEO and co-founder of Charana Labs. Can we have Mr. Venkat Kuncham, Mysuru board member, to honor Mr. Vijay Krishnappa, co-founder Kosha. Now I would like to have the honor of having Mr. Pradeep Kumar, Mysuru board member, to honor Mr. Ajit Padmanabham, founder and CEO of Who HR. Who we are, sorry. My bad, you know. You know, I'm so lost. The way you have explained how we can save our heritage. I'm going to go today after this session and definitely going to dig deeper in your venture and what all you do. It's really inspiring. Yeah.
I think we can give them a round of thank you.
Yes. They
That's a
deserve much
fabulous
more
message.
energy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And now, last but not the least, I would like to invite Mr. Ajit Pai, past president of Mysore TiE, to honor not just the sutradhar of this evening, but beautiful thread which has holded this lovely discussion all together. Thank you so much, Kanchana. It's been Thank you so much. You know, Kanchana is a testimony that a CEO, Chief Everything Officer, is actually excelling in each and everything. And I will hand over the mic to the person who is holding this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The next session it actually makes my job very easier. I don't have to talk. I just have to call out the names and have the entrepreneurs come on stage and speak for themselves and their brand and tell the fabulous story of why they're doing what they're doing. So I'm not going to eat away into their time because I'm known to be a very hard taskmaster with respect to time. So with that, may I invite Vinay Prashant, co-founder of Tamaala Art Merchandise, to let this fabulous audience know what you're trying to build. Also, somebody said you look like Shashi Tharoor, so I don't know. You want this or that?
Yeah, I think
this is better.
Yeah, this is better. Yeah. Do we have a AV quickly of the? Yeah. Namaskara, Mysuru.
Handling operations, and at Tamaala,
Quick video. We'll just play it out.
Section of art, crafts, and handmade traditions and contemporary markets. We're trying to build bridges between India's rich craft heritage and evolving audiences.
We have a retail store in JP Nagar where we display traditional art, contemporary art, and handicrafts from across the country. At Tamaala, we use design, innovation, and storytelling of the history, making process, and a day in the life view of the artisan's work to provide unique home decor creations, traditional games, and wall art. Our patented design innovations like the terracotta mobile amplifier, or the T-Map for short, have given us national recognition and awards. We have 45 different kinds of art and craft experiences that open up a whole new revenue stream for the artisan. These include block printing, workshops for kids, art workshops, pottery, and so on and so forth. We currently support the livelihoods of 320 rural and tribal artisans in 45 Indian clusters.
Yes, so that's us, and that's me, Vinay Prashant. I'm a co-founder. I manage operations, and the primary founder, Suvarna, could not join us today. So she's the one, the heart and soul behind Tamaala, because she drives the design and the art curation behind what we do. So when we started off, exploring the world of art and craft, we realized that it also happened naturally, because luckily both me and my co-founder, we were born and brought up in different parts of India. We lived at least in about 13 cities in our childhood, and all that really helps because you get exposed to various cultures, languages, and regions and their uniquenesses, right? So one of the things when we thought about cultural entrepreneurship, we said, let's go into the villages and see, what it means to be an artisan, what it means to be a rural artist, and what kind of work do they do, and what are the challenges. And I think the first things that we realized was that there is, the rural artisan is actually struggling, right? Across India, the total number of artisans, can anyone take a quick guess? What's the number? 1 million, okay. Any other guesses? Supposed to be 2 million. Government figures, I'll give it, it's difficult to talk to, you might be finding it difficult to think about this area also because maybe not your domain. But the government registered artisans are 1 crore in India, and the total number of lives dependent on visual arts and crafts in India is about 5 crores. So it's the second highest employment sector after agriculture. So it's a fairly important sector that we need to look at. And the first thing that we found was that the next generation of the artisans do not want to pursue the art form, right? That's a reality. So what do we do with that? Do we have 5 crore people coming back into our cities, right? Or do we lose this part of cultural heritage? So we said, okay, it's easy for us to go one way. The art market goes one way, which is you look at sympathy, you look at, tugging at those tears, and then you say, poor artisan, let's do foundation, NGO, get CSR funds, and hopefully their lives will transform, right? But we said we'll go about it another way. What we thought was at Tamaala, we'll create revenue which does not exist. So I think that was the only way that we thought we can grow the market or make life better for the artisan. What revenue already exists is the exports market. Many of the artisans are already in the exports market. They're already doing some work, and they're getting some share of, however difficult it is for them to operate in the export market, they're still getting some share of revenue into their homes. And we said we'll not do the emporium business, right? So we were clear what we will not do. And we said we'll go after large business opportunities which make a difference to the artisan and also make a difference to the next generation if we want them to, feel motivated and proud that they belong to an artisan, karigar, Vishwakarmi family, right? So the first thing that we did was we went to large corporates and we said, hey, you know what, this is glorious Indian art and craft, and can we come to your workplaces and demonstrate, the richness of our Indic culture and heritage? And we actually realized that we were thinking that we are going to go and demonstrate our art and craft and get them to, create awareness and hence create a long pipeline for the revenue. But we realized that people were willing to pay us for the workshops itself. So what we thought was going to be a demo for creating the market became a product itself. And today we do about 45 kind of workshops for various corporations. Like we are the official workshop partners for HDFC. So B2B workshops for their client top leaderships, we do workshops. We do workshops for Schneider, Sasken, large MNCs, right? And these are places where the young artisan gets to meet. So what does the young artisan want to do, right? They want to come to the city and they want to do any job in the city. Most of the jobs are gig jobs, right? If you have a two-wheeler, you have a license, you're going to do delivery jobs. That's the job that they're coming to the city to do. Today, we are bringing the same artisan to the city to sit inside a top MNC like Wipro. They're demonstrating their art form, and the CXOs are watching them, they're praising their work, and they're getting paid for it. Right? So, I think that transformation, I wouldn't say that we thought that it will go about this way. It was completely accidental. We went about doing it in one way, but it kind of worked out in the favor of the artisan. It worked out in the favor of the... So for us, getting that CXO as a client became much easier. So today, if Schneider is our client or Sasken is our client, it's because the CXO did the workshop. They understood handmade. And they understood directly from the artisan. So I don't have to go and tell them that I'm genuine. Or, I'm really working with the artisan. Because all those questions keep coming in handmade. Are you genuine? Are you exploiting the artisan? Are you this? Are you that? Or why not the government? Right? So all these questions keep happening there. That was one. And then the second point was that, we said if we have to get the next generation interested in doing their art form, we have to go about it another way. So one of the innovations that we we briefly showed here was the terracotta mobile amplifier, for which we got a grant. And in fact, ISRO Alumni Foundation sponsored the first round of production for the terracotta mobile amplifier, because that was a pretty interesting thing. During the COVID pandemic, all the potters were sitting without jobs and nobody was buying pots, because all the the fridges were doing the cooling of the water. So we were able to employ 32 potters across Karnataka to make these terracotta mobile amplifiers for ISRO. I think that was the biggest success story during that time, and kind of gave us a lot of hope. That gave us hope that the next generation artisan is really interested in doing this, because he is not interested in making the pots. Maybe he is, but there is a lot of fatigue and boredom, and lack of income is extremely boring for them, right? The pottery pot that you make, you earn about 30, 40, 50 rupees for making a pot. Our terracotta mobile amplifier sells at 750 rupees. It takes the same effort to make a pot, and my artisan earns 400 rupees out of that, right? So that's significant money for the same effort. So there's no difference in effort. There's a newness in design, and the next generation are fully keyed in because they're earning the money and they're also doing something different. They're not doing what their parents were doing. And that was their main issue with their, them continuing that village life is boring and I'm not getting exposure. I want to go to the city to do something. No idea what they want to do. They all do average college degrees or even, school, high school, and they come to the city and they all do labor jobs. That's the only, thing that we have seen them doing. And this is after interviewing or talking to about 320 artisans. So I can say our biggest achievement over the last, we started in 2017 and we had the pandemic, a blip in the middle. Our biggest achievement in the last 8 years of operations is that we have motivated 15 of the next generation artisans to go back and join their parents. I think that's the biggest achievement that we... It's a very small number.
Vinay, sorry, you have 10 seconds more. I'm here.
Oh, all right. Awesome. So I think, it looks like a very small number, but trust me, it's very difficult once they move to the city. They don't want to go back to the village because it's a loss of face for them. They feel that they don't know what they'll tell when they go back to the village, right? Even though they belong to an artisan community, they belong to a family that has had a 500 or 600-year-old tradition in making art and craft forms, they still have a lot of shame to go back and pursue their own art and craft form, right? So I think our biggest achievement has been that. And we have generated income which definitely did not exist till today. So that's been the second biggest achievement. We have had great supporters like the Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy. We supply B clients who have really come forward. It's very easy for us to talk to large institutions like this and talk to them about handmade. It's really difficult for us to go to MNCs and do the same thing because they don't measure it in the same way. But I think our storytelling has taken us there, and we've managed to do that. Thank you so much for the patient listening.
Thank you. Thank you so lot, Vinay. Just stay here. May I request Mr. Srinivasan Nagarajan, board member of TiECon Mysuru, to please come on stage and hand over the speaker memento to Vinay. Thank you. The next brand would present here is TiECon. We have both the co-founders here today, Kanika Vora, if you can just stand and so everybody can see you, and Anuradha Chandrashekar, who would be presenting the brand story to you all. Okay. I need a clicker. You need a clicker? She needs a clicker.
Okay, sorry guys, 1 second. No, the first slide is not this. It's my brand's, where did it go? Y'all deleted it. No, we didn't do it. Okay, never mind. Wow, so one slide has magically disappeared. Good evening, everybody. Namaskara, namaste. I'm Anuradha Chandrashekar. I'm the co-founder of TiECon. We are India's first cultural trend intelligence company that was launched about 4 years ago. And today I'm here to sort of walk you all through a little bit of what we do and maybe insight that through an example of our process itself. So I think, as done before, our best way of introduction is a fun video. So let's get that started. Thank you. Before I get started, I definitely want to thank Kanchana for making us part of this program with NICE.org and with TiECon Mysuru. I think it gives us so much joy and pleasure to be able to share our narrative with you all, because the centricity of what we do as a company is to be able to bring forward that constant combination of narrative as us as consumers live, right? Which is a combination of culture, heritage, future, right? The new about, we are both setting new standards as well as constantly are rooted in our culture. So that's what essentially we do as a company. Our intent is to connect consumer creativity, culture, and commerce. So I think Anil set a great precedence to what we are trying to sort of build forth. And when Kanika and I went on to set this up about 4 years ago, it was not a new idea. There are global trend forecasting agencies that have existed. But our point was that there was never an India for India read, right? And we are so beautifully complex. I mean, our plurality has no bounds, and that's where we thought, we must have a trend forecast that speaks to consumers and context, but also inspire originality, inspire new thinking, but to do that with the context of all of these four. Our approach and methodology, I'm just going to be a little bit here, but essentially when we're talking about interpreting consumer ecosystems, we're talking about culture and we're talking about consumer ecosystems. It all sounds okay, but what really is that? What we essentially track is an understanding of what impacts consumers both obviously and subliminally. Right? What we mean by obvious influences when you're talking about a trend, it's the celebrities that we love, the influencers we follow, the movies we tend to watch, the content we consume. But it's also subliminal influences that change our preferences as consumers. What it makes us evolve towards new things, which is everything from as macro as what's happening politically, right? What are the new trade agreements that our country is signing with whom? How is that going to be impacting consumer ecosystems? How are restaurant cultures changing? What's occurring, in product consumption and interest itself? And yes, we've got a tool, which is itchnextlabs.ai, that aids and abets this journey for us. But equally importantly is the human in the loop that asks the question, why? Right? Why are consumers behaving this way? Why is something like this trending? Why are foods like this suddenly coming about being? It's the why that what we go on to do. And I'm going to use the next couple of minutes to quickly illustrate an example of this, right? So in 2025, when we were researching about what are the consumer events, the occurrences that were happening, et cetera, and we noticed that there was a lot of focus on revival stories, of memory narratives of, grandmother's kitchen and, food and culinary. I'm sure all of us have experienced this. Suddenly there's this new interest in age-old history concepts and food and concepts and all that. Similarly, even analog technology being hugely back. I mean, who thought the vinyl player would be back, right? And even, the basket weave that's coming back in furniture, the revival of the Corbusier, Chandigarh chair, all of this were realities that are starting to occur altogether. The concept of collecting, again, is coming back hugely in trend. So we kept asking ourselves, why were consumers starting to, and this was happening in small signals across the country. Essentially, it came from digital fatigue. It came from this excessive digital overload that we were constantly exposed to, addicted to, that has become from our lifestyle. So we went on to predict that there is going to be a strong narrative of Bachpan that will come across this year in 2026, exactly the timeline we are currently experiencing, where it's going to be about going back to simpler grandma stories, things that are comforting, a time that was slower, simpler in concept. So we predicted colors like the Ravi Verma pink and orange. I mean, coincidentally, the Ravi Verma pink, painting that sold recently as well. But a color as glowing and beautiful, and it's something that he sort of brought forth as a paint and treatment. And we actually saw this come across, like we predicted in concepts like bringing in the lotus flower treatments that's so common in Pichwai and Ravi Verma paintings, to bringing together basket weavery with flora and fauna that quite often sort of was combined in these details, to being inspired by ancient traditional board games and etc., right? And we saw this trend come alive. I mean, this is, as we speak today, we've seen that trend is already occurring. It's been confirmed by designers like Anita Dongre, Nikai Baragini Ahuja, Masaba, really top designers that tend to influence the rest of the country in terms of new trends. But it's not just there. We're also seeing it get confirmed with, lifestyle brands like we're seeing here, from a Forest Essentials to a Soclet, actually picking up the same tone. Now, mind you, this is not a self-fulfilling prophecy. These are not our customers, so it's not like we told them make this and hey, they went out and made this. But the reality is, when you put context to culture and you bring that out, then your chance of getting that product right at the right time is extremely high. Another example is the Mogra and Aster Purple. Again, so beautiful. We all remember the Mogra, the lovely Mallipu flowers that we all remember from our nostalgia. And we again predicted that coming through from, bringing through simple bedsheet florals to, again, the kind of, the tablecloth embroideries that were coming through, the kind of Nane ka ghar, the window panes and the sills and the kind of grill work that was there. Again, confirmed, right? So we saw this come alive with, again, top designers like Sabyasachi and Ekai doing this. Also happening in lifestyle, with even Asian Paints launching this color for this year very newly. So it speaks to, again, that how everything kind of comes back to what we're calling as culture. And we're talking culture in a much bigger context, right? It goes beyond the performance arts. It goes beyond artistic abilities, but it talks about the lives and the ecosystems that we are living in today. Another example of the vintage blue with the narangi. Again, in the way it was sort of predicted for the kind of patterns, the kind of color treatments, and we saw this come alive as well, including Samsung's new phone launch that has recently just happened that picked up on the same tonality. Now, one would assume, why is this important? The thing is that a lot of business success comes from collective popularity, because when consumers are consistently exposed to a new concept, the chances of that working is extremely high. And ultimately, context matters, because data without context is just numbers. Right? And context comes from culture. It comes from cultural intelligence, which is what we talk about. Because design, business, and innovation is not just about trends or data analytics, and especially in today's world. It is about, and always will be about, people, cultures, and identity. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Kanchana, I've been good on time.
Thank you. Just wait your turn. Thank you. May I request Mr. Ashok Kumar Meda, Charter Member, TiECon Mysuru, to... Yes. Kanika, would you join us on stage, please? Thank you, ladies. Thanks. Thank you. The next entrepreneur needs no introduction, nor does his brand need any introduction. He's right here from our own Mysuru, Mr. Nikhil Mannar from the world of Mysore Park.
Sure. Good evening. Okay, myself Nikhil. She has already introduced. Just little, lot of good session went on, and I would like to keep it little more occupied with the crowd also. So let me play the video before we start, and then I'll take it a little forward.
Brand begins with a legacy, but only a few transform legacy into a global experience. Born in Mysuru, home of the iconic Mysore pack, World of Mysore Pak was created not as a sweet shop, but as India's first immersive sweet experience center, 8,000 square foot destination dedicated to Mysore Pak and Mysuru's sweet heritage, featuring live preparation, heritage storytelling, museum-style installations, and complete transparency. At the heart of it all lies our Mysore Pak, crafted fresh, live every day, from the classic royal recipe to 14 uniquely crafted Mysore Pak variants, each perfected in texture, taste, and richness. With an 8-month shelf life, our Mysore Pak travels far beyond Mysuru, making it ideal for gifting, celebrations, and global markets. Alongside a curated selection of traditional sweets and authentic South Indian namkeens. From everyday indulgence to luxury gift suites, custom corporate hampers, festival editions, event-specific boxes, and co-branded gifting solutions, World of Mysore Pak offers a format for every occasion. So far, over 12 lakh boxes sold, each carrying heritage, quality, and trust. In just 1 year, over 15 lakh visitors, national media coverage, viral digital reach, and recognition as the world's most visited sweet store. Trusted by 250 plus corporates, IT firms, hotels, institutions, and event partners, World of Mysore Pak has become the preferred choice for festivals, milestones, launches, and large-scale employee engagements. Today, World of Mysore Pak is a must-visit Mysuru landmark, a trusted corporate gifting partner, and a brand traveling across borders, with franchise interest from India and overseas, airport-ready formats, and scalable experience-led retail models. This is more than a suite. It is culture, credibility, and commerce, beautifully blended. World of Mysore Pak from Mysuru to the world and beyond.
So, World of Mysore Pak was born exactly one year, 4 months right now. And we started with an employment of around 20 people exactly. And today we have got around 250 people who's engaged in one single store. So, and we have done around, we have served around 3.5 lakh kgs of Mysore Pak till date, and still counting. So, and one more thing is we have collaborated with many big 5-star hotels like Taj, Oberoi, Leela, JW, and to be honest, we are the only company which works with all the major 5-star hotels in Bangalore. So, and other than that, I'm not exaggerating myself, but many of the brands which is coming towards your sponsorship slides are all our clients. So many of them in that. And World of Mysore Pak is an emotion which we have started. And okay, why World of Mysore Pak? More than that, it's about the legacy of the sweet which was created in 1935. So when we thought about doing something to Mysore, and we came up with this big gap in the market of Mysore Pak, as well as the sweet industry itself. So see, for many things, I was kept on hearing saying that we have an experimental experience centers for many of the products, and why not for sweets? And that is where you have already seen someone who is making live jalebi, or maybe live jamun, or nothing more than that. Even Ultrams to anyone has not cracked a market where a sweet can be also an experience. So, for example, chocolate was an experience in Swiss, but why not Indian sweets which can be taken into that level? That was the vision what we had when we started creating World of Mysore Park. And since the suite was already done in 1935, but still, I mean, it was also called as King of Sweets. But to be honest, Mysore Park was sold more in Chennai market than in Mysore. So that's the fun fact. But yeah, the trend is definitely changing now. We have created that wave where whoever visits Mysore has to visit World of Mysore Park and get to know more about the heritage of the sweet and how it's made. So every person who visits our store will definitely get an experience of how it's made and everything. But not only that, we are also going to introduce something called as Make Your Own Mysore Park very soon. So we are going to teach them how to make Mysore Park. I mean, they need to book prior tickets. We are going to sell the tickets. We are going to teach them how it's made, and they can carry their Mysore Park back home. So these are the small things what we would like to contribute to the tourism of Mysore, as well as the cultural. So the cultural aspect of our beloved suite. And we are also launching our World of Mysore Park in Bangalore Airport very soon as an experience center. So wherever we are going as a World of Mysore Park store, we don't want to be confined to a small outlet or something like that. We would like to always give them a new experience where it's not only about Mysore Park itself, it's again about other sweets and namkeens. So we have introduced something called as, I know it sounds very, I mean, can this also happen? So we have something called as Samosa Park. So it's going to be launched in the market very soon. And we are also coming up with our FMCG as well in European market as well as the American markets. So we're going to be entering that also soon. It's been a great journey in World of Mysore Park, and a lot more to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhil. May I now invite Mr. Samarth Vaidya, founder of IKEA's Builders and Developers, to come on stage, please. Thank you. Now I'd like to call upon the final brand in this segment, Mr. Shashishekar from Roll the Dice, another Mysuru-based cultural enterprise. Shashi, you can use this. Put the time. Shashi, put the time. It's 2 minutes.
Namaskara, Elrigo. So, let us just take a vote of hands. When was the last time you played a game? Not necessarily a traditional Indian board game, but it could be snakes and ladders, it could be a carom, it could be anything. So when was the last time you did? Can please raise your hands, in a sense, if you played it in the last 1 month. Very nice, in a sense, but there are only a few hands going up. How about in the last 1 year? Good, some more. But how about in the last 6 years? Okay, but still not enough. So that's what we are trying to, fix. Because play is a pretty big cultural experience of India and, of course, the world, but especially in India. And traditional Indian board games are play a big part in this culture of play. Just last week, we were at a Kreedotsava in Bangalore, and this is something that we saw in the sense, and we keep seeing this again and again, where grandparents try to play with their grandkids, and they really enjoy. And sometimes the grandkids are also not really interested because they feel that these are pretty old games and such thing. But then when they actually play, when the grandparents actually play with the kids, it becomes total fun, and it goes on for a long time actually. So as I said, we see this again and again. We engage with schools, we engage with communities, we engage with families, we engage at functions, and there are a lot of places that we go to. We make them play these traditional Indian board games, and everywhere we see there's a lot of changes that happens, and this is where they get refreshed, they get rebuilt, and too many good things happen out there, like the Indian play culture that starts beginning valued with pride. And of course, there's intergenerational bonding that also happens. So we actually face a lot of problems, especially one of the biggest problems when we actually face when we go and talk to our customers or talk to people. They say, hey, I don't know how to play this. There are some games that a lot of people know how to play, but there are a lot of games that not many people know how to play that. And they also come back saying that, is there any fun or is there any use in playing these games? Yes, it is there, but the biggest problem is, I don't know how to play this. And for that, we always say, we got you, so we will help you teach, we'll help you learn these games, we will help you take this back, and we'll help you enjoy these games within your family, within your friends, and etc. So we have been connecting thousands of people across cities and towns to these games through participating in exhibitions, participating in shows, and such things. Oops. Okay, and what do we do differently is because we focus only on traditional Indian board games. And we have multiple variants. We have a game set suitable for every budget. We understand, in a sense, people would love playing it on the floor, just writing it using a chalk piece, and using simple stones, sticks, etc. But we ensure our game sets provide that a good experience, which and also their bootstrap, their setup time is very quick, and they enjoy playing the game rather than figuring out how many squares should a Chaukabara game board be. So that is something that we do with thoughtful design. And our materials that we use, they're all eco-friendly, and they are premium, but yet accessible. We use cotton, we use silk, but they're pretty accessible. And we always make sure that we use bright colored ones, because that makes a lot of difference. And we do curated gift sets. We do corporates, and we go to corporates and schools, and we teach them. And we actually have built experiential game sets, which are almost this height and 4x4 feet large, because people love playing with those experiential game sets, and they have got us to build it for them. So this is something that we are doing. But then we have been asked a question pretty frequently. That is, okay, but are you doing this to revive the board games? And if you are doing it, then how do you plan to, keep it for the next generations? And how do you plan to make the next generations enjoy these games?
So we have, and then as we already saw in some of the previous sessions, the next generations, it's mostly digital. Though we would love to, keep them away from digital devices, but we would love to cater to them also. So for that, we are building digital experiences using our Tollugatti platform. So Tollugatti means, okay, it's a play in one of the games, Chokabara. And Tollu means it is hollow, and Gatti means it is strong. So we are going to make whatever thoughts the hollow thoughts that you have, you are going to strengthen it. So that's the whole concept behind Tollugatti. But at Tollugatti, we are actually helping people play traditional games digitally through workshops, through multiplayer games. And we are working on turning gatherings into playful experiences. Like in parties, in cultural places like this, etc. And we also have something called Uncamp, in which we are making kids use challenges to learn new things. It is not necessarily just board games, but a lot of interesting things. But those challenges are done offline, of course. So this Tollugatti is something that we are working on consistently, and we are going to announce it pretty soon. So, and we have been fortunate to have a very good support base in terms of organizations, in terms of people, and in terms of customer base, and also the media, of course. And we have been, in a sense, fortunate to have got a grant from the Karnataka government through their Elevate program a couple of years back. And we were recognized as emerging cultural business in a national level this thing last year. So, yeah. And we look forward to more support. And a lot of people over here, they are very strongly behind us, so we feel very secure with their support over here. And yes, why do we actually, the final the thought that I'm going to leave here is, why do we need to do this? In a sense, why should this, in a sense, all these games be there? Why should people play these games? These games are our living culture. We don't want to put them in museums. We need people to, play these games and keep it as part of their culture, as part of their heritage. So this is something that they experience every day, just like eating a Mysore pak. So this is, of course, this won't give you diabetes. So you can play these games almost every day. Okay, so thanks a lot. And this actually, the whole company was started by my wife, Tanushree, who is sitting here. She's my partner. And I joined her just recently. Both of us are techies, and that explains all the slides, etc. So I would like to thank her for building this thing and then giving me an opportunity to take it to everywhere. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shashi. Tanushree, can I request you to please come on stage as well? Now I'd like to request Dr. Giridhar Parvatam, Director of CFTRI, to hand over the mementos to the speaker. Thank you. With that, we end this segment. And before we head out to dinner, we have a last very interesting lecture demo. I'm not going to say much about it, but it's titled Taking Traditional Art to Global Markets. And I would like to invite my good friend Rupa Doraswamy to kindly... Rupa, are you here? Oh, thank you. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you, Kanchana. Hello, everyone. So the title is Taking Global Traditional Arts to the Global Stage. As you all know, traditional arts is a wide subject. We have, music, we have theater, we have visual arts, we have dance and movements. So my presentation today is going to focus on movement arts. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So just as a background, I'm Rupa Duraswamy, founder of a company called Go Brahma Productions Private Limited. We're based in Bangalore, and this is what we do. So this is a culmination of experiences that we've had over the last 1.5 years of our operation. We are still, in the making, and we are still trying to find the business model, and we're happy to say that we are way ahead from when we started. Thank you. So the opportunity gap here in the Indian movement arts is India possesses world-class artistic depth, and unlike sports, cinema, and technology, the movement arts sector lacks structured commercial systems. So we have a willing audience. We do. That's what we've, after COVID, obviously, it's changed a bit, but we do have a willing audience that remains underserved. We have high potential talent that remains under-monetized, and we have premium brands that are under-engaged. We believe cultural entrepreneurship is the bridge that turns raw talent into a scalable ecosystem. I guess you'll hear me also, just like everybody else, kind of try to change the vocabulary, and that's going to be the string that that goes through all this presentation too. So currently, the landscape in Indian movement art is you have solo performances, and which the mechanism is per show fees, but however there's lack of scale. Then you have dance schools and their productions, where the main income is tuition, and it's linear and time-bound growth, unfortunately. You have what we call the debuts, whether it is Bharatnatyam, whether it is any of the Odissi, and there are, by the way, 8 classical dances in India. And when you have Arangetrams, they're usually family-funded, and these are milestones, they become social events. So they're not, they're all one-time revenues. You have the Sabha model. Obviously, if folks have been to Chennai, and I'm sure Mysore too, and Bangalore, we have the Sabha model, the NGO model that thrives on grants and patronage. There's a non-commercial dependency. Recently, Sabhas have started charging, modest sums of money. People go and pay for art, which is great. Then we have festival productions, which is tickets and sponsorships, which is highly seasonal. And we have media and talent representation, audience monetization, and booking commissions. That's how they make the money. But however, this is unpredictable growth. So new models that we've explored with this background, and this is our learnings in the last, and as far as I know, I don't know if other organizations have tried to look at this particular sector in a investable or a startup or a commercial manner, because usually this is again very patron driven and CSR driven. So we, personally, I've been a part of TiE for more than 28 years now, and I've been a corporate lawyer for 30 years. So I retired last year to get into this because I really wanted to see if somebody can bring in some of the learnings from this ecosystem into an ecosystem that's now going to be thriving, especially with Elon Musk saying live events is the next big thing. So there's something definitely here to be explored. So we explored our own productions, which is high equity creative assets where we invest money in creating IP, intellectual property. And I must tell you, the arts, especially the traditional art ecosystem, is very, I can't find a better word, but nazuk. It is sensitive. The ecosystem is not ready for a lot of terms and terminologies that we are currently used to doing in businesses. So we have to be a little careful. Talent management, of course, this is about professionalizing artists' careers. There's an opportunity there. Strategic capital, investing in external productions. We do put in money in external productions and try to get the ROI from that. Financial sponsorship, which is targeted support for brand intensity, where we have brands investing in shows and we coordinate and support that. Event execution, of course, developing operational muscle, where we get the production, entire production going. And curation and consultancy, where we do high margin intellectual services, because As you know, this is again run by the Guru Shishya Parampara. A lot of it. So we are hopeful of getting the access to knowledge from the wonderful gurus who are much aged now. But how do you get hold of them and get their access to the knowledge to get world-class shows and bring it back into the global audience? That's the thing. And outreach partnerships. So this model has been working really well for us recently. While last year we actually invested in many shows, this year, we realized I have a small team of about 6 people and an office, and I pay rent in Bangalore. So we are trying to see, at least let's start with getting the commercial value into our own company. So we have now encouraged our teammates, and interestingly, I couldn't find ready-made people to do this. Kids are either they don't know culture, they would like to do performing arts, as in they want to go on stage, or they want to study BPA and join an IT company or an MBA. So the intersection of art and business, the talent doesn't exist. So this year is about creating that talent pool. And we are doing that by working with others to promote their shows. So you might just find my guys standing outside Chaudaya or outside your office trying to sell you tickets. And that's important. And then we have corporate engagements where we've been recently engaged with some corporates to put together. We don't have dancers except for Rathan, whom you're going to see now. But otherwise we have mainly professionals who are inclined towards art or want to be interested in getting more in working in the system, or just maybe IT folks looking for a job. So we want to hire them. So what you're going to see next is examples of the various shows which we have put together and in these different models. I'm going to stop wherever I can to explain what that is. So this is can you please there's a play underneath. Yeah. So as we go along, I'm going to say this is a show that we invested in. We did 5 shows of this last year. This is one of our shows in, it's a corporate show. We invested in the music and the dance. This is a show that we supported. The poster you see there was done by us. We did a lot of marketing. This is something which we got the ecosystem together. It's called the Lawyers Roundtable. As outreach partner, we sold these shows. Pranasaki, Madhva by Praveen Kumar. So these are all very senior artists, and these are beautiful shows that already are existing. These are shows run by excellent musicians and dancers, and we do make sure that there is some dance involved, because that's what we're trying to focus on. One thing what we've realized is somebody who, an ecosystem that goes for music, Carnatic classical music or Hindustani is different. Art is different, visual arts is different. So we are right now trying to get knowledge base and experience and create an army for the Indian movement arts. The only reason being that's the only subject I understand, because I've been a hobby dancer all my life along with my corporate law career. I did my Arangetram when I was 10. So that's the only reason. There's no other reason. What we want to do is, as with some of the learnings from my experience, let's build one sector first, and then we'll tackle the rest. Only because this is heavily, it's a physical industry, so it'll take time. This is almost like a product company. This is, and we are trying to do services so that we can build the product too. But we need to understand this because it's extremely complicated. So I won't be doing my job. Like, for example, this is an upcoming show, which is in Brookfield at CMRIT. So this is what we do. We created the poster. Madras Players is popular in Chennai, and they put up their show in Chaudaya for a houseful show. Brookfield, interestingly, has a very different ecosystem. And Whitefield is different. So we need to understand how to sell tickets and what happens and who's your audience. So we are very lucky to be partnering with, and you have the singer Sikil Gurucharan right there, if anybody is a connoisseur of classical music. So this has live dance and theater and English dialogues and music on stage. It's live. So all our shows that we've been doing, it's all about, can we take it to scale? Can we take it to the global stage? So recently, after all of this, one of our shows got picked up, and we are in talks with folks in Australia to take it there. So this is a little bit of organic growth, only because, thank you, only because this, as I said, this is a sensitive subject. I can't use the words industry. I can't use the word business. I can't use the word investment. I can't use the word, there's so many words in the beginning. I can't use the word Bharatanatyam because one Bani of Bharatanatyam will not accept another Bani of Bharatanatyam. It's very complicated. So with respecting, so we don't want to run over. We want to respect what is already there and build the ecosystem over and above that. Artists want work. Artists want to get paid. The entire system today is about going and watching. It's all about sponsored and CSRs funded. Recently there was a concert by a very famous dancer called Rama Vaidyanathan in Chowdaya. To about 600 people were there, and all of them could have paid, right? And of course Rama got paid. But the problem is, can we get into this culture of paying for art again? We have tried to sell shows in Mysore. And thanks to others, we were able to come to some extent. Inside Out helped us. We did a half decent job, but the mindset of paying for art has been lost. What I understand, it existed before. So the funding for the arts is not only CSR and donations, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to change, just like all other entrepreneurs here, we're trying to change the mindset from patron-driven donation to investors, investment. And one of the ways we're trying to do, and the buck starts with me as the founder, we have invested in shows, and we want to see if by investing in each show, like for example, recently, we've just launched a show in August at the Prestige Center for Performing Arts, and currently I'm underwriting it. But the idea is, can I excite people to at least start investing in the show in a micro basis, right? Like maybe crowdfunding for each project. The reason I'm saying this is if we want to take Indian classical and traditional art to the masses and to the global stage, we need big money. Anita Ambani investing 100 crores in Raja Di Raja, which ran 6 full house shows in PCPA just a few days ago. It was launched in NMACC, but it's supported by the Reliance Foundation. Mughal-e-Azam, the show was put into a live show format, and it has gone to various countries. But again, we have Shapurji Palanji Mistry as one of the patrons. So right now, this is great. At least people who have the money are promoting large shows. But then what next, right? So we need to take control over the situation. Artists and art needs to be kept alive. And the only way to do it is take responsibility and bring in a little bit of capitalism. Let's start by paying for the art and get in sponsorships, get in brands. Always wondered, okay, now Coldplay, and of course I can't have whiskey companies because artists of this will not accept a whiskey company to come and sponsor them. Okay, then we're thinking, can we ask do surrogate advertising? So we're looking at all these options. And in general, whatever I understood, again, people who know the arts do not talk business. So this is what we do at Gobram, and this is the experience in the last year. We're still work in progress. We're about only 1.5 years old now, and we've been thinking business only since the last 1 year. In that last 1 year, we've reached about 6,000 plus live audiences in our various shows. We have had 3 original productions, invested in 3, outreach partners 7, and we have managed 2 artists. It may be small numbers, but the point is, what did it take to reach 6,000 plus artists, audience? So it's a lot of effort. We need humans, we need bodies to understand how to do it. How do you sell? How do you go and convince people to leave Netflix and come here? How do you convince people to, yes, we need the VR, AR, and I hope totally we should work together someday. But how do you come for a live experience? And the hormones is completely different. It can't be just, me knowing somebody and coming in. This has to be part of the culture. Definitely, folks like BLR Habba, Nita Ambani, everybody's doing their job and trying to recreate the market. And it's going to be, the ecosystem is still being built. So, Kamalakshi is on 26th April at Brookfield, by the way. So coming back here, so you have event agencies, you have academics, you have NGOs, and you have corporate firms. So there are a lot of people, a lot of kind of organizations that are doing this. But we at Go Brahma are actually a private limited company, and this is something new again. Usually people would be organized as, and just like somebody else said, we should have been a Section 8 company or we should have been a trust. But we decided not to. And we decided to do a for-profit company. We're far away from that, but I think it's okay to burn money little, and I'd love other people to burn money with me, because we are going to change the way things look. We are, if Lion King, there's African art, Siam, Nirmit and Phuket, if anybody has seen it, the scale that is there, we cannot achieve that with just patron and government funding. We do need private investments. The infrastructure and road ahead for us and any other company that wants to get into the space. So for us, short-term goal is, of course, scale corporate services and recurring revenue engines. We want to get paid. I want at least salaries to get paid. It's important because we have to take responsibility. So we're not going to go for CSR funding for that. Then the midterm is expand our own IP and portfolio and sponsorship ecosystem. This is very interesting. We've been lucky with a few sponsors, and I personally, although I know many people in this room and outside Thai, I have tried to get some of my relationships. I've tried to use some of my relationships, but the ecosystem has to be built on its own. The product market fit has to happen on its own. That's when it's going to survive. So right now, we've been very interesting outcomes. People have no issues investing in music, because music audience is different, especially Carnatic classical music. But in dance and movement art, it gets tricky. So that's what we've seen. And we've got to work on that. So we are also trying to see where do we compromise, or do we just stick to our guts and say, let's put on a great show and we will get the sponsorships. And we're getting the audience now. So now we're actually focusing on audience generation, which even 1.5 years ago was a struggle, is getting better now. I don't know what's changed though. Maybe the big shows that are coming from Bombay, which is a good thing. And the long-term objective would be to get ROI-based investment and access to finance, which I believe has not happened before, at least in India. It costs $15 million to put up a show in Broadway. And Indian art, Bharatanatyam, Carnatic classical, we want to get there someday. And I'm going to talk about what format in a bit. And of course, the end goal is Bharatanatyam on Broadway. That's my personal end goal. And I mean, I hope we are able to achieve it. And of course, when I say Bharatanatyam, it's also professionalizing. So we realized when we started working, this is not it's still an unorganized sector. Urban company has done great job with domestic. So there's a lot of, and of course, drivers. This is an unorganized sector, so we will have to burn a little bit for us to get on top of things, and hopefully we'll reach that goal in a profitable way. And in our team, we have like production and operations. We do artist relations, marketing, and social media. We have finance, and we have a bunch of different people working with us. One thing that we don't do, Indian movement art does not need saving. It needs systems and an ecosystem. So what we don't do is we do everything else, but we don't perform. So we don't go on stage, except for today. So that being said, I'm going to now give you a context of what's going to happen next. When you're going to watch the next demo, I'm going to call it demo, although it is a small performance by my colleague Rathan. He is the only dancer in the professional dancer. He's a professional dancer. He is the only professional dancer in our team of 8 people. And the reason he works with us is because he's our connects with the artist world. So in our shows, he will not dance. So we do not hire people to dance in our shows. We are completely a professional body that is only either off stage, backstage, or outside. So on stage is the artist, and we want to partner. And that's one of the learnings we learned last year. So we are not in this to create the next big show with our own people. We're not going to hire people yet, or probably never, because we want to bring beautiful productions that have already been done by excellent artists in India, and show them the light, show those productions to the light of day. There is no point reinventing the wheel. Indian culture, as we know, has so much, and that also goes with the Guru Shishya Parampara. Tons and tons, that's all sitting in CDs and cassettes in somebody's, whatever, in the album, right? So next we're going to invite, and of course this is Go Brahma, if anybody wants to know more, you can go there. And next, I would like, if any questions here, can I take a couple of questions? No questions, okay. So I would like to now invite my colleague, Mr. Rathan Nayak, who will present a piece which is about 6 minutes. The piece is called Shrishti, and you can actually start the music. I'm going to talk till then. Yeah. The piece is called Shrishti, a symphony of Indian dances. It was made to showcase the full piece was made to showcase 11 different dance forms, which I believe, yes, you can start the music. Yeah. So you can, so today you're going to see 4 different dance forms. And when you're looking at this, look at each of them, try to identify them, and I might even just say what they are. And look at them and say, there is an entire industry or a business model on each of them. If you're talking about Bharatanatyam, the whole thing. Kuchipudi, the whole thing. You know, it's unbelievable how much you can do with each of his movements on the commercial side too, right? And so that's the view you look at this piece. Of course, enjoy it too. Rathan is a senior dancer. He's from the Alva University, and he studied dance for a long time, and he choreographs too. He choreographed this piece. The music is by Praveen D. Rao. We have a lead singer, woman singer, Mansi Prasad, in that, and of course choreographed by Rathan. And yes, you are on, Rathan. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the presentation. Bharatanatyam. Kalari Paitu, which is a folk art from Kerala. He's explaining the various Panchabhutas, Akasha, which is the sky, wind, earth, the wind, fire, water, earth, this is Khatak. You can clap along if you want. That was Rathan Nayak from Gobarma Productions. Thank you, Rathan.
Thank you, guys.
So that comes to a close, and we do hope next time you go to a performance, go to a show. Please do encourage. Please do. I won't say promote. Yeah, promote the art, support the art, invest in art, movement art first, and then all other arts. And thank you very much, Kanchana and Nice, for this wonderful opportunity, and of course, Mysuru, TiECon. Thank you very much. This is Rupa Duraswamy, Gobrama Productions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rupa. Fabulous. Could not have asked, I think, for a better ending to this fabulous evening.
Yellarigu namaskara.
Aituma. Thank you. And anyone who wants to interact with the speakers or performers who were there this evening, they would be there at dinner, so please feel free to interact. May I now invite Dr. Y.T. Krishnagowda, Principal, MIT, to felicitate the speaker, please. Rathan, can you please join us on stage? Thank you. Wow, this has been a fabulous evening. Thank you so much to all of you. Before I hand over the mic to Mr. Venkat Kuncham for the vote of thanks, I would like to personally extend a huge gratitude to Mysuru, Ram, Sanjana, and the whole team. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. To echo what Anil Srinivasan said, collaboration is the key in building an ecosystem, and we look forward to many such collaborative opportunities to grow the space of cultural entrepreneurship. So thank you, Ram. A couple of housekeeping rules. All the registered guests are requested to join us for dinner, please. And in the true spirit of sustainability, all of you, please bring back these badges tomorrow and day after. Thank you. Thanks so much.
What a way to end the day, with cultural experience and having the dance performance showcasing, the art and everything that we wanted to witness for the evening. Good evening, everyone. Today has been nothing short of extraordinary. We have witnessed a powerful synergy of entrepreneurship and regional innovation, from the high-energy startup pitches this morning to the cultural immersions this evening. By bridging global investment with the rich heritage of Mysore, we aren't just talking about business. We are witnessing the birth of a new era of cultural entrepreneurship. This is what, without a doubt, the largest and most significant conference of its kind in the history of our city. I am Venkat Kuncham, TiE board member, a founder CEO of CloudTech Software. It is my distinct honor to propose this vote of thanks for this spectacular day. An event of this magnitude is the result of a tireless dedication. I would like to thank the leadership team with my deepest gratitude, to the board members of TiE Mysuru, a special mention to our President Bhaskar Kalale, and the chairman of TiECon, Kevalur, for their vision in conceptualizing this entire event. Thanks to our keynote speaker, Anil Srinivasan, for their invaluable insights. Thank you to our moderators, panel speakers, startup founders who showcased ventures centered around art, design, and tradition. You are the heartbeat of this summit. A sincere thanks to the Government of Karnataka, IT and BT Department, KEDAM, PALS, CFTRI, ICAC, and for your unwavering support. We appreciate the CMs and AMs of TiE Mysuru, TiE Global representatives here today, as well as the CMs from visiting TiE chapters who traveled to support us. Special thanks to all the invitees, guests present here this evening. A huge thank you to the Inside Out event team, the JCAC Center for this stunning venue, and most importantly, thanks to all of our sponsors. Your belief in this vision has made this day possible. To our Pitch Fest participants and judges, the future looks bright because of you. I would like to also extend a special thank you to our Sutradhar MC, Kanchana, for steering us through the day's proceedings with such grace and energy. But remember, we are not even halfway through here. So we have an equally exciting lineup waiting for you tomorrow morning. So with the theme, Reimagine Mysuru. So starting at 9 a.m., we are all going to be back here. Thank you for all being here for this historic milestone. And please enjoy the rest of the evening with dinner. Thank you.
As you all leave, I want to just take a moment and extend our love and warmth for Kanchana for a spectacular evening. Bhaskar, if you can please come on stage and one more. Achha, when was that given?
Thank you.
Okay. So I can substitute that with Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. The dinner is right at Oyster Bay across the road. The dinner is exclusively for TiE Charter members, some of the paid registrants, and any of the invitees that have come to the function based on our invitation. Thank you. Appreciate it. Please ask them to bring this to me. Please. And a new one for you. Thank you.